Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Inspired Voices with Sangwadzi. I'm back again. I have somebody interesting again to you for you to listen to. This platform, we bring different guests who talk about different things and different topics. And I am excited because today I'm bringing a young man, Brian Dzingai, two-time Olympian. And born in Zimbabwe, went to school in the United States. He went to Florida State University in the year 2000. Then he got his degree and then he did his MBA and he's been living and working in the United States, working in finance. But Brian is other than that. He's a two-time Olympian. But really, I look at him as a philanthropist because the work that he's been doing to help other athletes in Zimbabwe, from Zimbabwe, to reach world standard, it's amazing. I spoke to him earlier before I brought him to the studio, but I want to share with you what he told me. Brian, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Spear. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, and really excited to have you here to talk about your life, an amazing life, and it's more than just being a two-time Olympian. Talk to me about your life. As I said earlier on, you went St. George's, and a bit of background how you ended up in the States. But you told me some very amazing stories of how you went into athletics. Go ahead and tell everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, sort of growing up, like I was always a good athlete. And going back to like 1998, I'm at the National Sports Stadium and I'm running, and I just got done running, and this guy walks up to me, and his name is Mitch Mujikambisi. And Mitch was my school captain at Saints when I was in Form 1. And he was in Zim for his dad's funeral. And he walks up to me and says to me, "You should really think about coming to the US on an athletic scholarship," right? And we spoke for about 10 minutes and we exchanged emails and phone numbers. But that was the last time that I heard from Mitch until 10 years later. Um, what happened in that moment was that Mitch planted this seed for me, and he put me on this journey where I started looking into how I could come to the US on an athletic scholarship. And that journey led me to getting a scholarship. And even though like I lost touch with Mitch, right after that first meeting, that 10 minutes that I spent with Mitch planted that seed is the reason why you and I are having this conversation right now today.
No, some of these things we take for granted because, like they said, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. And maybe if you didn't run into me at those 10 minutes, they made a difference in your life, right?
Abs-
Then go ahead, tell me more. How then did you become a two-time Olympian? And then we can get back into the work that you're doing with other athletes in Zimbabwe. Talk to me because I heard the whole story and I want to share. I want other people to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went through the process and I landed at a school called Truman State University. And at Truman State, they gave me a partial track scholarship and a partial academic scholarship. And I was there for like 2 years. And then I ran really well and then got an opportunity to then transfer to Florida State University where I was given a full scholarship. And whilst I was there, I was coached by one of my very good friends today, a former Zim athlete, Ken, Honden, was the first Zimbabwean athlete to win like a national championship on the NCAA level. And this man became my coach for like 9 years.
What was his name again?
Ken Honden.
Ken Handen. Okay.
Correct. So Ken became my coach, and in 2004, he helped me to become an Olympic athlete. And becoming an Olympic athlete was never part of like my life dream, right? I was just running, using track and field as a way to get a free education. But I think that sort of mindset just around doing something that you enjoy doing without any sort of pressure
Mhm.
allow me to, flourish just along that journey. And we just sort of woke up one day and we're like, we've qualified for the Athens the Olympic Games, right? Um, but I sort of credit that journey to the fact that I chose to have fun, right? I made a conscious decision in my senior year that I wanted to enjoy every moment with my teammates, enjoy every race, enjoy the sort of final experience that I was having in college. And I define fun as the ability to flourish under no pressure, right? So when people think about the things that they're good at, things that they enjoy doing, right? Those things are just typically fun and there's no pressure. And I took that mindset into like the way that I trained and the way that I raced, and that allowed me to just soar to the top, right? Um,
Yeah, we hear this all the time that the best place to be, we all want, you have to go to work, you have to earn a living, but the best space to be in your life is to do what you like without, and with no pressure. And sometimes with no, we're not talking of money. It's just doing what you like doing, and then you have no problem, right? And it sounds like that's what you're talking about.
I mean, absolutely, absolutely. And just by having that sort of mindset, right? You know, track and field as a sport has given me an opportunity to travel to over 40 different countries. Um, I was sponsored by some of the world's top brands, right? I've met so many different friends, so many different people from different places, but it's opened up so many doors for me that without me taking that approach to actually have fun, that would never that would never happen, right? If I think of '04, we walk into the Athens Games as the seventh fastest guy in the world on paper in the 20-meter dash, right?
You were.
Yes, yes, I was the seventh fastest guy on paper based on rankings. I was the seventh fastest guy in the world, right? Um, I run in Athens and I don't do as well as I'm supposed to, but we still finished that year as the seventh fastest guy in the world. So we sat down with Ken and we said, listen, if we have a plan, right? Maybe in 4 years' time, we can have an opportunity at making that next final, right? If you have a plan. So we sat down and we made a plan. And that plan was 1,460 days long, right? So just think about waking up every day, right? And doing like the little things that you need to do to prepare for something that is 1,000 days away, that is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
That isn't guaranteed. Right now, I should tell you that plan had ups and downs. It wasn't a smooth road. It had many ups and downs. And I actually had very bad years in '06 and part of 2007. And I even considered walking away um, from the sport December of 2007 when I'd finished my MBA, right? But I sat back and said to myself, listen, we have 8 more months, right? Let's get back to that place where you're enjoying, right, what you're doing, right? And whatever happens, it doesn't matter because there's a job offer waiting for you, right? So let's take this last stretch, last hurrah, and just go out there and have fun. And what happened the summer of '08 was that I had the best season I'd ever had racing in Europe. I raced against Usain Bolt many times, and those races helped to give me the sort of confidence that I needed going into Beijing, going to China.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that over 1,000 days you ran?
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
trained every day.
Yeah. So we train every day. We train every day, right? And slowly chipping away at this plan that we had, this sort of blueprint that we had, and we did that for over like 1,000 days, over 1,000 days.
Make me go to the gym. I'll go there 4 days and I'm like, 1,000 days. I mean, this is inspiring, really, to a lot of people who are listening. It's not only athletics. Athletics. It could be anything if you focus your mind and you gotta do it. It's not gonna kill you. It's not gonna kill you. It
Yeah,
becomes part of you, right?
yeah, absolutely. And this sort of takes me back to 2005, and I was back home and I was walking down the street. When I was in town, and I was walking with a friend, Valerie, and this random kid walks up to me and he says, "Are you Brian Dzingai?" And I said, "Yes, I am." But I said to him, "I recognize you, but I don't know where I know you from." And he said to me, um, "We have never met, but I've seen you on TV, and I want to let you know that you're an inspiration." Now, granted, this is in '05. This is even before I made an Olympic final. Granted, I was on TV racing in Europe, so people probably saw me, but I never thought that somebody would walk up to me and say that to me. Um, and I remember going home that night and saying to my mom, "What happened?" And and what my mom said to me was that this gift that you've been given by God
Mm-hmm.
is uh is something that you have to use in the right way. And when she told me, I actually didn't know how to use it, right? She just told me that I gotta find a way to like use this gift, right? Um, and like a couple years later, I've been using that gift, I should say, and the sort of networks that I've built over the years in the US and the people that I know to just open up doors and opportunities for other kids from Zim in the same way that Mitch 25, 26 years ago did the same thing for me. And what he did for me only took 10 minutes of his time, right? So I never want to I never want to make it seem like there's a whole lot that we do to open up these doors, right? It doesn't take a lot of work, but we use the networks that we have to give kids opportunities. And when I say we, like at this point in time, it's just not me. It's myself, Ken, and some other guys from Zim who've come through this similar system. And some of them actually who are now coaches within the NCAA system.
So tell me about two-time Olympian. So which ones? When did you win, and how did that look like?
So I participated in Athens in '04, and I did Beijing in 2008. And I recall getting to China, um, and we were told that we had to attend like the opening ceremony, right? So somebody that had done this like a couple of times, like the world champs, I really wasn't keen on being part of the opening ceremony because I was so focused on running, and I wanted to make sure that I saved like my legs, right? Now, what people don't know is that Zimbabwe is the last country to come in before the host country. I think the host country comes in last. So alphabetically, Zimbabwe always comes in, the close to last, right? And you're standing on your feet for like 5 or 6 hours. So that part of it is just miserable. And as somebody who's focused on, trying to stay off my legs and prep for my races, I just wasn't keen on doing it. Kirsty Coventry was supposed to be the flag bearer, but she was actually swimming like the very next morning. So they then chose me to be the flag bearer. So I got the unique opportunity to walk into the Olympic Stadium as a flag bearer for Zim. Now, as much as that seemed like a small thing for me in the moment, I just didn't realize the inspiration that it had for friends and family and people that have come across me at some point in time, watching me on TV, being that person that's leading like our country in, right? And this was the moment for every person that's been part of my journey to celebrate because without their help in some sort of way, right, that moment wouldn't have happened. So it was more about an opportunity for them to celebrate and say, "That's my son, that's my boy," and I've never seen my parents more proud than me. Like as children, you're always trying to make your parents proud, but I've never seen like my parents more proud of me. Um, yeah, except in that
That's,
moment.
that's fantastic. I can just imagine. I mean, I can just imagine. That's my boy right there. I can imagine. Mm.
Yeah,
And a
yeah,
lot of people, your friends, that's Brian. Can you imagine? He's my friend.
yeah. No,
It's wonderful.
absolutely, absolutely
That's
bragging rights.
wonderful.
And if you think about Zim at that moment in time, things weren't going so well in Zim, and it was a source of inspiration, just a source of
Mm-hmm.
hope to just let people know that even if you're from this small, little country,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody like Brian that eats sadza just the same way that you do can
Mm-hmm.
actually make it on that global level. I think it was a positive thing for young people, to make them believe that they can achieve anything, right? You know, I'm always telling people, right, that my personal life story i- is always being Brian versus Goliath. And the reason I say that is because if you ever meet me, I am 5'6", right? I am a small guy. You know, you meet me and be like, this guy made an Olympic final, right? And I was the guy standing next to, Usain Bolt in that final. I'm 5'6". Usain Bolt is, 6'6", right? And for people that have never watched that race, I'm always telling people I'm the reason why he ran a world record, just because I pulled him, dragged him to a world record. That's not true because he caught me like the first 5 or 6 steps. But that's my sort of claim to fame, that I pushed him to a world record. But if you meet me and you see how small I am, right? Um, I think it makes kids believe that they can achieve whatever that they want to achieve. But I always tell people that this part of the game, just the mental aspect, is probably like 90% of it.
That's powerful. That's really powerful because anybody can if it comes from up there, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And now that I have kids, right, just speaking to them in a positive way and making them that they can be anything that they want to be. I mean, I see the sort of transformation when they do things, right. So it's something that I sort of talk about. It's something that I preach about, even with kids that I mentor, right. One of the things that I sort of touched on was just the whole thing about the blueprint. And there's one kid, Maka Charamba, who has been a mentee, and he's followed the blueprint to the T, right? Maka was an Olympic finalist in Paris in 2024. Um, but all people see is that moment when he's in the final. What people don't know is that journey for someone like Maka started in 2019, when a friend, somebody who was my junior in high school, got in touch with a friend based out of Charlotte. And that friend then got in touch with me and said, listen, I have a cousin who's in Zim, and he's a really good athlete. Can we help him? And you sort of look at this video and like, oh my goodness, this kid is the next one, right? Sort of fast forward to having conversations with his mom, and his dad, and trying to help him along this journey, putting him with the right coaches in Zim so he could get a time that would allow him to get a scholarship, and then him trusting that the first school that we sent him to was just a place for him to develop for like 2 years and get better.
Yeah.
And then in his first year training with my former coach, Ken Condon, right? In his first year training with Ken Condon, this kid goes and makes an Olympic final, right?
Just like that.
Just like that, right? So, you know, success leaves clues, right? And Ken Condon was one of the first professional athletes in the sport of track and field from Zim, national champion. He spent 4 or 5 years as a pro athlete. Ken Condon coached me. He was my coach for like 9 years, right? And he helped me along this journey, right? Now, with having Ken on our side with me, now we're just taking that knowledge, and that's 20 plus years worth of knowledge, right? Giving that to someone like Maka, who in the same token has actually been like a good listener, right?
Mhm.
He's chosen to take everything in, right? And in his first year working with a guy that knows where he's from and understands his sort of challenges, this guy goes and makes the, the Olympic final, right? And this year, as of this past weekend, as of Friday, and we spoke Friday morning, but as of Friday evening, right now, he has the world's fastest time as of right now,
Wow.
right?
Zimbabwean guy. Mark
Zimbabwean guy.
Zimbabwean guy.
Yeah, he's got the leading time like in the world right now, and the time that he ran as his first race of the season is a time that he was chasing all year last year. So he's opened up on a much better note, and he's a much better athlete. And listen, I'm always telling people like Team Zim is going to make some noise in LA 2028. So if you're, if you want to be there and be there to
Hmm.
support Team Zim, these guys, people like Maka and Carly, they're going to be the core of Zimbabwe in LA 2028. They're going to be a source of national pride in LA 2028.
That is just amazing. That's well, actually, it's inspiring. I mean, also, one might not be an athlete, but to just know that these guys are representing Zimbabwe, it makes us proud. It makes us totally proud. It makes me proud, and I know a whole lot of other people. Do you still run?
um, yes and no. I am definitely in the gym. I don't run at the same level that I did. I'm more of a recreational athlete now. There's just no time for me to do the stuff I used to do. Plus, my body just doesn't allow that level of crazy
Insane.
training, I should probably say.
Yeah.
But I'm active in sports with my kids. I coach my daughter's track team, some other stuff.
I was going to ask you, how old are your kids and do they run?
Yeah, so my kids are Matida is she's 10,
Mhm.
and she loves running. She's just, she's also not that tall, and she thinks that it's the only sport where height doesn't matter. So that's why she enjoys track.
Mhm.
And actually, I'm actually taking her to the college national championships in about 8 weeks, just because I wanted to experience what it's like, and hopefully it's a source of inspiration for her, right?
Mhm.
And then Anashe is 8. She's my chatterbox, looks like me. She's in her first year as a gymnast,
Mhm.
she made it to the state meet. Um, and you know, I am amazed by her drive because right now she trains 9 hours every week, right? Which is a lot of time. And all we have to do as parents is to drive her to the class, and if we sit around and wait or we go do something else, but she's the one that has to put in like the time in every week, right? And I'm amazed at the fact that she hardly says that she's too tired to even go to training, right? And what I love about the process she's going through is that she is seeing the value of hard work, right? So as a gymnast, you drop them off and you don't see what they do, right? And it wasn't until her first competition I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
she can actually do all of this stuff. And she's just learned that you put in like the work and the time, the results will come, right? So if you take that back and you talk about 1,460 days, it's the same thing. It's the
That's
same thing.
insane. That's
Yeah,
absolutely insane. But
right.
it just goes. It says a lot that things just don't. You don't wake up. Just
And and,
you've
and,
got to
and, and
put in time and days turn into weeks, weeks into months, into like that.
Absolutely, 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 and even when I think about Maka, right? You know, just like anyone, and he's human, right? I think people as they go through the journey,
Mhm.
you sort of have self-doubt, right? And I understand why, but that's why you need people in your corner that have been there, people that have done it, and then they tell you, listen, the goal is 6 or 7 months away, or the goal right now is LA 2028, right? You know, it's a journey, it's going to be full of bumps and bruises, but let's stay the course. And in life in general, we tend to jump off the boat or the
Mhm.
ship when we see the first hurdle, right, versus just staying like the course. And it's been an amazing journey watching him flourish. Let me tell you something. When he made that final, I was in Paris, and I was at a hospitality center called Jamaica House. So I'm in there with a few other people from Zim, and I'm shouting really loud. I'm like, you guys just wait. Zimbabwe's coming on." And the two guys made the final, right? And I'm sitting there shouting. I'm like, "I told you so. I told you so."
Mhm.
And Ken called me on video because they were at the stadium, and I was in tears because everything that we've ever fought for, right, from even trying to get funding from Zim, right, it became justified in that moment, right? It became justified in that moment, right? And people
Yeah,
now finally understood why we were pushing for what we're pushing for, but hopefully make people believe that we give them a bit more support, just a little
yeah.
bit more, right? Just a little bit more, right? Just imagine what we could do as a country, right? And this isn't about trying to get the next world champions, the Olympic champions. It's all about providing kids an opportunity to a
Mhm.
free education, right?
I think that what you just said it makes a good segue into my next question. How do you sportsmen see athletics and sportsmanship in Zimbabwe? Yeah, yeah. How do you see what's going on? And
I
I
mean,
think
listen,
that was a good lead to this question.
yeah, I think Zimbabwe has a lot of talent, right? The challenge we have is that the expertise on a youth level is just probably lacking. And I say the expertise, what do you need to do to prepare kids or to give them opportunity to go to universities, right? We're not even trying to have coaches to be world class, but they just need to understand what they need to do to give kids like an opportunity. The biggest challenge that you have in most schools is that maybe each term the school head comes and says, who wants to coach soccer? Maybe the first person raises their hand, but they've never played soccer like my whole life, right? So you have a lot of talent that gets skipped on or just
Mhm.
missed out on because they're not being given the right type of coaching. So that's number one, right? The second thing is that I think there are structures that can be built in Zim, right? Just low level structures that can give opportunities to kids to have an opportunity to get athletic scholarships, right? I think, and there are structures in place now, but we need a bit more funding. We just need a bit more
Yeah.
funding, not a lot, just a little bit more, just a little bit more funding to do that, right?
But like I told you, time goes fast. We've been talking for 28 minutes, and we could go on and on and on because you told me a whole lot of stories, a lot of inspirational stories, supporting other people who sometimes it takes just a little bit to make a
Yes,
difference in someone's life, just a little bit. You told me another story of somebody you assisted with $65 to go and write an SAT, and right now the person is a medical doctor
yes,
in Texas. It's
yes.
incredible. I mean, the work that you're doing to support other people goes a long way.
Yeah, I think we when people think about doing things or helping, they always think of things in a magnified way. And sometimes you got to think about what part can I do for my fellow country people. And I think the little you do is enough, right? But from a cumulative standpoint, when we all do something,
Mm-hmm.
it then starts to make a big difference, right? So I see this as only a small part of what everyone needs to do just to help our fellow country people.
We talked about sports and all that stuff. Tell me 2 minutes just to tell me what you are doing, where you are working. You're in finance. You did an MBA and work in finance. Give me a little bit about that because I want to know about you too, other than being, the sportsman that you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work for a company called Alpha Brand Media. I run finance there. It's a digital media publishing platform. And they were a sort of former client that then asked me to sort of come in and join them full time. The past couple of years, I've also been running a very small company that gives opportunities to people based out of Zim, right? So I do have a very small team that's based in Zim. Um, and the one story that I can tell you that sort of comes out of that is that about 2 years ago, one of the people on my team said to me, "Listen, I've enjoyed working for you for the last couple of years, and I just wanted to let you know that I've managed to make my second payment on a stand, right? So when you are progressing someone else's life and putting people in a position where they can see hope and change, right? I think those are things that keep me going, right? And once again, it's a small little difference. Could be one or two people, but at least we're trying to do our part on a small group of people as much as we can.
Thank you so much, Brian. I mean, for hope and giving people just that dream to follow their dream and achieve something. It's major, and we need more people like Dzingai here, Brian Dzingai, to talk to us about this and the little that you're doing, which is making huge difference in Zimbabwe to a lot of people, makes a difference in someone's life. And thank you so much for this. And I really enjoyed. I know we didn't have enough time. When I spoke to you earlier on, you told me more and more stories, and I was just like, my God, this young man, where the hell? Where has he been? We need more people like this who can inspire us, and and my business here with Inspired Voice is to amplify those voices so that they can share, people can share with other people. This is what's going on, and let's keep doing, let's keep pushing, one person, one foot in front of the other, one person into another person and another person, and a lot will be achieved through that way. Thank you so much, Brian. And for those who are watching, please subscribe to Inspired Voices with Sangwadzi, and I will be bringing another person. And once again, thanks a lot for following us and listening to all these inspired voices that we bring, the ordinary people who are doing extraordinary work. And when you know better, you do better. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day, and good evening to everybody.